Hi, I'm Dave from Holly Skill Models, and this is my video build of the Revell Star Wars AT-AT walker. So I got this kit from my good friend Dom, who bought the kit back in 2020 when it was released for the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back movie, and yeah, he didn't think he was going to get around to doing it, so he's passed on to me. So I was very happy about that. Thank you very much, Dom. And this one started with the chin, the head, and the chin guns. And basically, what I've done is I've got all the larger parts and just got them all together very quickly because there's not much to this. It is a fairly straightforward build. There's no technical detail to it. It's just getting everything together and the sheer size of it. So working with this kit, it's extremely heavy plastic, very thick plastic. So it was a case of getting the glue on, holding everything in place because it did want to come apart at times. And of course, the main part here was making sure that the head and the neck still moved. And it was very, very simple to put together. There's only a few parts. There's like two sides, the top, bottom, the back end, and the head, and then the legs. So it really didn't take too much to put the kit together. So for the gluing, I'm just using the standard sort of Tamiya extra thin cement that I use for everything. You can see the little pot rack that I've got there. I do have the quick set and stuff as well, but I, be honest, rarely use that. If I do use that, it might be for undercarriages, or I would use super glue, for example. So yeah, just extra thin cement is my sort of go-to glue. If there's a really large aircraft that I'm working on, what I'll do is sometimes use Revell Contact Professional, but the extra thin cement is absolutely perfect for this. Like I say, there's no real challenge to this technically. It's just a case of putting all the parts together, making sure they're set, and then just holding it all together with a bit of tape. No detail inside, obviously. There's no doors on the outside. I suppose if you wanted to, you could cut the doors off or cut the hatches open on the side and maybe add a little detail inside, maybe some figures. I don't know. I'm sure you can get some figures. Don't know what the scale would be, but there you go. Yeah, there is options that you could do to sort of put more detail into the model itself. The chin guns in here themselves were fairly easy to do. It's just a bar across the middle, and obviously not glued in so that you can sort of change the positions of the guns once you're finished. The front of the head section was actually a really tight fit. So once I got the neck moving, it was off camera. What I've done is a lot of sort of jiggery pokery filing down to get the front of the, like, not the mouth, but the very front of the head to actually close. Which took a little bit of extra work, but that's fine. And then it was a case of moving on and trying to finish up putting the body together, which you can see I'm doing here. Quite difficult to get it under the camera. I've got a very sort of limited light or camera rig, if you like. It's just a standalone holder for my iPhone, which I use for all my filming. So it is quite difficult to get it under the camera here, so I do apologise for that. But at least you're getting a nice lovely close-up of some of the detail there. And again, I use the Tamiya tape for most applications and holding things together, masking, all sorts of things. So now putting the underside of the AT-AT on. This bottom piece of plastic was honestly so thick, if you wanted to hang pictures in your house, you could have banged the nails in with this thing. It was absolutely, it's probably about 3 or 4 mil thick in parts. It's an absolutely solid piece of plastic, but I guess that means that it's going to be quite sturdy when it's finished and not too much trouble. Just point out there a couple of little sort of gaps that I was treated with some Vallejo putty, plastic putty, which is water based, and these are, I guess this is like the gears, the walking mechanism from underneath the engine. So putting these together, again, very thick plastic, but very definite anchor points to use, which made it very easy to get the parts together. It did have to squeeze quite hard just to make it click into place, and then it's just a case of tidying up with a little bit more glue. So the gearboxes, or whatever you want to call them themselves, there's two of them. There's like a main one at the front and then a small one at the back. And again, really big guide sort of markers there that you can use to put them together. And there's no fit issues. If anything, it's just a little tight and you've got to really pop them together, but rather that than not fitting. And then it was on to the feet. That was pretty much the body done. So the feet came in a few parts. So there was the main foot itself, the really famous foot that you see crushing the snow speeder in the Empire Strikes Back. Then there's this sort of like D-ring, if you like, which is more like the pivot for the foot, the ankle joint, and a little sort of disc over the top to hold everything in place. And obviously these come in fours, so oh, don't worry, I'm not going to make you sit and watch 4 of these being built, so just putting the first one together. A little bit of a join line across here on the disc, but I actually decided to leave that, and I was going to use it for some weathering once I got to that stage. So on these parts, this is the only part where I've really had to get rid of some flash and some sort of sprue marks. So I just went around all of the legs and got those all tidied up. And then it was the last piece to go in was this sort of hydraulic rod for the control of the leg, and the base of the leg on the top. So that what you see there's half a leg. You've then got the thigh part, if you like, to go on, which sort of attaches to those circular anchoring points that you can see there. A bit more tammy tape, and then just holding everything in place while I get these hydraulic legs put in. So the rods themselves aren't that difficult to put in, they're very straightforward, but you do have to be a little careful with the sort of the thinner end because they control the lateral sort of move of the leg, a bit like your hip joint would do, and they can snap if you overextend them and stuff, or if you push too hard. So it was a case of like trying to keep them stood up all the time. With the thigh sections, again, you've got these massive sort of pinhole guide marks to use, which you can't go wrong. And again, with the join lines on the legs, I've left that in place so I could weather it a little bit and sort of put some dirt and stuff in there. Hold them all together with the tape, as I do pretty much in every section. And then this is where the lower leg attaches to the upper leg. The shin bone connects to the thigh bone, if you want to go down that route. And for each leg, you've got a little plug, like there you can see there. You can pop that in, and these do come out again. You can pop them out, change the position of the legs. But what I tend to do, I put them halfway in until I got the legs where I wanted them when I'd finally finished, which you'll see at the end. And then pop them into place when I was finally happy with the position of the legs. And now we need to put on the engine, or whatever that part is, generator, who knows. And what my plan was to get those on, and then I was going to paint the model in 2 distinct sections. So I was going to do the body, and then I was going to do the legs separately. And that's what I started to do. So just finishing all this off. Now, again, this is where I went to the reference photos, because I was like, well, that's a massive gap. That looks really rubbish. And then I've got the reference photos, and there is a gap between that rear section there where my hand is and that part of the back of the AT-AT that comes down, that they are not joined together, which I thought was a bit of an error, and quite an obvious error. But then when I've looked at the references, that's absolutely fine. So you can see that discrepancy there, which is not a discrepancy. I shouldn't have said that. So now moving on to the paint of the models. So get them in the booth, and I'm using some Ultimate Modeling Products black primer. So the plan was to prime everything in black, and then put on some mottling with a white colour, just to give a bit of a sort of a pre-shade weathering effect, and then put the base grey coat on. And what you will see soon is that this took a hell of a long time. I don't know what was wrong, but the primer kept blocking. It kept jamming the airbrush, and it had an unforeseen circumstance. But for the moment, yeah, just you can see getting all the primer on. One issue that I won't do again, this is actually with a 0.3 inch needle. Next time I have to do anything like this, it'll be using a 0.5 because this did take quite a long time. So the unforeseen problem was my compressor died on me. As you can see here, I got the body done and 3 of the 4 legs, and then it packed up. So I had to stop until I got a new compressor. So once the new compressor had turned up, it took a couple of weeks, just using an AK stencil and some flat white paint from Tamiya. Just went over the model and just created all these modeling effects totally at random, and then got on the XF19 Sky Grey base colour in varying sort of thicknesses so that you could see some of the weathering coming through, which you can just see from that image there. And now what you didn't see off camera was an aqua gloss coat going down and using Tamiya Panaline Accent Black to pick out some of the main details. I use this stuff on almost every model I build. It's absolutely brilliant for picking out detail lines before you start doing the full weathering. And obviously it's crucial that you put down a gloss coat first, and then you can put this on, and then you clear up the mist with some enamel thinners. And for the final 4 sort of knee joint plugs, or whatever you want to call them, I've hand painted these quite thickly to give a much rougher effect, because I wanted these to look quite worn. And then I moved on to a little bit of weathering, and what I've used here, I've used the Winsor & Newton oils, and using mainly burnt umber, sienna and black. And I've just gone around at random. You can see on there on the head I've put on what I wanted to look like scorch marks from laser shots hitting the head. And then I've put a couple of sort of oil streaks and things at random places around the model. So putting on with a very small amount, and then just getting another brush with which has been dampened in white spirit to streak it out, and then using this blending brush that you can see there just to thin it, blend it in with the background so it all looks as natural as possible. I've only just started using these techniques, and yeah, it's I learn as I go. So this is the 3rd model I've used oils on, so I was quite happy with the results on this one. And then just moved on to the feet, did a bit of weathering on there, bit of chipping. The chipping was done off camera. So on here mainly I've used black oil just to look at like oil marks on the legs and things, and I've left one foot fairly untouched to try and make it look like the leg's been replaced or something like that, or the foot's been replaced. Just as I'm sure they've got mechanics who would do that. And then I attached the camera off camera. Sorry, I attached the legs again. Same issues. Once the legs on, it could not fit it under the camera or under the light for that matter. So that was all done off camera. And here's the final model, all done, finished, and ready for some photos. So here come the final photos, and I hope you enjoy them. So did a little test shot with it in I was going to say my studio. It's not. It's just a table against the wall with a black bit of cloth, and then went for a bit of lighting to make this sort of blue effect, which I thought looked really eerie. So I've gone with that, and various shots of the model were taken, and I hope you like them. Thanks for checking out the video. Thanks for visiting if you've been here before. Thanks for checking out if you're a first timer to this channel, and I really do appreciate you watching. So if you do like the channel, please consider giving us a subscribe, and check out all the future models that we'll be doing coming soon. Thank you very much. Take care, guys. Speak to you all soon. Cheers now.